This was an interesting thing to me that I want to bring up. We in the black community, the melanated community, a lot of us were raised getting whoopings, getting spankings, whatever the fuck you want to call it, getting your ass whooped, right? So a report came out, a study last fall that determined, and this is something I kind of figured, but it was interesting. A study that determined the correlation between the number of, or the correlation between corporal punishment, so like students in school, because I went to school here in California, but I went to school in New Orleans before as well. And when you would get in trouble, they would whip out a paddle and whoop your ass, right? So this study is showing that there's a connection between the corporal punishment that children receive in schools and the historical lynchings of our people. And what this study says is, in the areas where there were more lynchings, and this makes sense to me, in the areas in America where there were more lynchings, the corporal punishment inside of schools happened more in those particular areas. They're basically showing a connection between just really how black people are treated in America, even from a child level, because currently corporal punishment is outlawed in all but 19 states. So most of the southern states still practice this way of thinking, but as we can see, it kind of all runs together. Because in these states where they would lynch us and mistreat us, it kind of boiled over into the school system as well, right? Because like I said, in the 80s in New Orleans, I got whooped with a paddle in the 2nd or 3rd grade, right? So how do y'all feel about that? How do y'all feel about that? One, should there still be any type of corporal punishment inside of schools? Should a teacher be allowed to whoop your kid ass? If a teacher whoops your kid, how are you going to respond to it? If the school told you, hey, look, a part of our curriculum, a part of how we handle business is if your 3rd grader get out of line, we're going to take his pants down and whoop his ass. You feel me? How would you feel about that? How would you respond to that, right? Because because that's one thing, but a bigger conversation we need to have in the melanated community is, should we still be whooping our kids? Like, what forms of discipline should we use to get our message across? Because being a 40-year-old man with 5 children, now I realize that a spanking, a whooping shouldn't be the first thing you turn to. I would say within a child's life, you should only have to like a real badass whooping a couple times in their life. You shouldn't have to whoop their ass, a badass whooping, more than a couple times. If so, then there are other things you need to look at. Because like I said, as I get older, I'm looking at my community and I see people who are parents who turn to corporal punishment or whooping the kid's ass because they're impatient, because they don't have the patience necessary to facilitate whatever needs to happen with the kids. Some of our kids are just acting out based on attention, right? If you work a lot, if you got a lot going on in your life, sometimes you may not pay your kid as much as attention as they need, and this can cause them to act out. This can cause them to begin doing things that'll make you feel like you need to whip their ass. Now, it could be the dad not being there. It can be economics not being right. It can be your living situation, right? So the bigger thing we should look at, because when we look at us whooping our kids, this is, in my opinion, this is directly linked to slavery, family. This is how we were treated by the slave master. We were disciplined in this particular way, and this is how we chose to discipline our children and just people around us, right? And in my opinion, we also would whoop our kids, and I think some of us now suffer from this, right? If you see a white kid sometimes in a store or in an environment where there's a lot of people, the parent is typically really laxed. They're just allowing them to run around. They're just allowing them to do whatever, right? And we see that as like, damn, control your kid. But in the slavery days, the mothers understood, if I don't make sure my kid does things the right way, if I don't whip him myself to make sure he doesn't walk this straight line, then when he get outside, master gonna whoop his ass. You see what I'm saying? So in those times, we were more or less trying to prevent our kids from feeling the wrath of white supremacy, so we'd whoop their ass ourselves. You know what I mean? This would even go even farther when a black mother who was a slave realized the possibility of the slave master selling her son. Maybe her son seemed smart, or he seemed like he was gonna be a Brock young man, like a real strong young man. She didn't want him to be sold away, so she would say, don't take him, master, he's stupid. He's stupid. He don't know how to do nothing. You ain't gonna want him. He's stupid. You see what I'm saying? So all these psychological things we had to do just to prevent the pain and the anguish from getting your ass whipped or having your family sold away, right? So a lot of the things that we partake in, family, the way we eat, the way we treat each other, a lot of the things that we partake in comes directly from slavery. It comes directly from how we were treated when we got here, right? And I'm not telling you what to do with your kids, but we need to begin to unpack and unlearn a lot of these toxic and negative behaviors that we've taken on simply based on the unjust treatment that we've had to go through all these years. You feel me? So it was an interesting story, and it's basically saying that a lot of the lynchings and a lot of the things going on with the school system, that kind of took place between 1865 and 1950. They did a research of all of the lynchings that happened between that time, and they seen the correlation between the places where there was a high amount of lynchings. There was also corporal punishment in the school system. So pretty much the racism was running rampant. You feel me? Not just against the adults in the community, but against our children as well. And it also went on, the end of the article went on to state how just in school in general, the white supremacy we have to deal with in schools in general, where black kids are suspended more than white kids are. You know what I mean? So the injustices that we face, family, and again, this show, family, we will have more lighthearted topics at times. But when there's a lot of shit going on in the country, when there's a lot of shit black people are being faced with, we have to address some of these things, right? We have to have difficult conversations. A lot of times we want to have fun, we want to relax, and all that shit is cool. But we need to have meaningful, well thought out conversations about where we are in this country. You feel me? So, next story. So again, we got to watch how we whoop our kids. Your child should have like a healthy amount of fear for you. They shouldn't be scared of you, but they should be scared of what you may do. You know what I'm saying? They need to have a healthy fear for you, because all too often, speaking to my people, I see my people and I see your kid running around and you don't appear to have control over the situation. And like I was just saying a few minutes ago, we do live in a white supremacy-based society, so the cops ain't gonna have no remorse for your kid. The teachers, like 80-90% of the teachers are white women who don't live in our neighborhoods, right? So they're not gonna have any remorse for your kid. So making sure your child is disciplined, just like I was just saying about how the mothers in slavery did, that shit is real, family. If your kid doesn't have any discipline, unfortunately, they may have to go outside of your house and be disciplined by somebody that don't look like you. And they're not going to have the same empathy and the love and, the fortitude to want to make your child a better person. They looking at this little black kid like, get the fuck out of here. I'm about to put your ass in jail, right? Because we got to understand that our children, a 12-year-old black kid is seen as a grown man to a Karen, or a goddamn Ken, a white man who do the same shit Karen do. You know what I mean? They look at our children as adults. So we got to be cognizant of how all these things work, family. Now,